Police, open up! What should you do if you hear those three terrifying words at your doorstep? I'm attorney James Fifelski. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I want you to know how to be prepared in the event you get surprised by a visit from the men and women in blue. I have all sorts of respect for the police. I value what they do, but I also want you to be prepared and equipped so you're on a level playing field if the police come knocking on your door. So I want to give you a few tips and pointers to keep in mind if this event ever occurs to you. The first is you have the right to remain silent. You always have the constitutional right to remain silent. It is fundamental to our Constitution. It is a fundamental right that we all enjoy. So when the police come knocking on your door, telling you to open up, you have the right to remain silent and not speak to them about anything if you choose. Now, if the police have a search warrant, they'll get into your house, maybe with a battering ram. So if they tell you, we have a search warrant, then you should open the door. Otherwise, you're going to pay for a $150 door repair. So yes, you can use some common sense, but when it comes to questions about something that is investigative, something that sounds more like you are being caught in a conspiracy or some kind of criminal investigation, keep in mind that you have no obligation to talk to the police. You have no obligation to answer their questions. You have no obligation to say or do anything. If you are already the subject of a criminal investigation, chances are pretty good that the police know enough about you to bring you to court and charge you with a crime. They don't necessarily need you to talk to them, but often they want to come and try to get confirmation of what they know to tie up loose ends in order to make their case stronger against you. So how can you possibly help yourself by talking to them, by trying to prove your innocence, by trying to explain yourself? It's going to be like, for those of you who are married, you try to explain something to your spouse only to make it worse. Put your foot in your mouth, you try to get your foot out and you put it in even deeper, and it gets harder to explain yourself. So you should just stop talking. It's very similar in a criminal investigation. You will very often, more often than not, cause more harm to your case by talking to the police than by simply remaining silent. And then moving into what I'll talk about next, which is your other fundamental constitutional right, the right to an attorney. The right to legal counsel is so fundamental in our legal system, not only during the investigative phase, but also in the prosecution phase. Each and every one of us has a constitutional right to be represented by an attorney who is trained and skilled and proficient in the law, so that we are not taken advantage of by either police officers or prosecuting attorneys who are also experts in the law. So do yourself a favor. If the police come to your door and knock and tell you to open up, you can tell the police very kindly, very matter-of-factly, I want to talk to an attorney before I talk to you. I want to talk to an attorney. I need legal counsel. You need to be direct. You need to assert your right. The police will not do it for you. I've heard people ask a police officer, well, do I need an attorney? They're going to tell you, that's up to you. You have a right. It is up to you to assert that right. It is always better to create space in an investigation by, at the very least, remaining silent, and then secondly, contacting an attorney. If the police already have enough evidence to arrest you, they're going to arrest you, whether you have an attorney or not. It may be projected that if you contact an attorney, the police will be upset for some reason, or you'll be doing them a disfavor. Well, the reality is, police can legally take advantage of your lack of legal knowledge and use that against you. Okay? It happens all too often. The courts will often approve of police tactics like that. It is not illegal in most cases. But what is most important is that you remember your legal and constitutional rights and assert those rights if you are the subject of an investigation. Now, the third and final fundamental constitutional right is that you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Far too many of my clients come in while they are now being prosecuted. We look at police records and I see all sorts of statements made by my clients who have tried to prove their innocence. And in so doing, again, just like I referred to the right to remain silent, you dig yourself a hole by talking to the police. The same is true in that presumption of innocence category, because the more you try to explain yourself, the more likely you're going to contradict something you have said, but also contradict something possibly another witness has said, or other witnesses if it's a larger investigation. So if you just remember and remain confident in that presumption of innocence, which in fact remains a presumption of innocence all the way through trial until a jury calls out their verdict. You are presumed innocent until proven guilty. You need to be confident in that. And when you are confident, you remain respectful to police during an investigation, you are going to get yourself closer to freedom and to actual innocence and closure of your case than if you try to explain yourself or give the police information that you think will help you, which can ultimately be used against you. These are three fundamental rights. The right to remain silent. Just remember, silence is golden when you're talking about police investigations. The right to have legal counsel, to have an expert attorney next to you to navigate the legal process, which is full of all sorts of pitfalls. And the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. These are three bedrock, foundational, constitutional rights that the legal system is built upon. It is the job of defense attorneys like me to make sure that these rights are protected and that our clients are protected. So I want to give you these three rights so you can better understand your rights and assert those rights if the time ever comes where the police come in and bang on your door and tell you to open up. I want you to keep these in mind. Now remember, everybody's legal situation is very different. This is not legal advice, it's educational. I just want you to understand a few things in the rare event that this situation happens to you. Go remember you have constitutional rights, assert those rights,